Hello, welcome to episode 129 and feeling fine of the Noclip podcast. Danny here, mixing it up this week. Jeremy Jane is on vacation, enjoying the beauties of the Northern Californian Western Coast, which means we are delighted to welcome back the man himself, the guy in the wheels of steel, producing the podcast every week. It's Jesse Garasha.
Hello, I'm here. I'm not particularly happy about Boston fumbling the bag. It was a 3-0 comeback, and now my Boston trip isn't going to be an NBA Finals trip. It's just going to be a regular vacation.
When are you going to Boston? Soon?
Next week.
Sick. What are you doing in Boston? What's on your list?
We're going to go maybe to Salem. That would be cool. Cape Cod.
Which is
like a couple hours drive, right? Not bad.
Sick.
Do that. We're going to go to the museum, aquarium. We're going to try to see if we can see one of those tea party things where like a bunch of people dress up like they're in the 1700s and try to toss barrels off a boat.
Chuck a bunch of tea into the water. It's just like horrific. The pollution that's happening in the Boston bays. Do you know Jeremy's mom used to work in the Witch Museum? That's not me.
Really?
Yeah, that's not me saying something shitty about Jeremy's mom. She literally was, when she was like a teenager or something, she used to like be one of the witches tied up in the basement or something. So
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah,
maybe I've editorialized that in a way that he wouldn't appreciate. I'm not sure. Apologies, Jeremy, if you're listening. I didn't mean to. I've been trying to get him to play Fallout 4 for a long time because there's some cool Salem related stuff and just Boston related stuff in that. Yes, shout out to the Celtics for making it a series and then not. It's almost like more depressing when they come. It should have just lost game 4, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. To get that far and then just play some of the worst basketball I think I've almost ever seen.
Just go on vacation. Just take the L on game 4 and just don't worry about it. Frank Howley, what's your favorite NBA team?
Damn.
This is a cruel question to ask somebody who can't use two of his hands.
It's so weird. I guess like I just listened to like a 3-hour interview with Phil Jackson on Rick Rubin's podcast. So I guess the Bulls and Lakers, just because those are the only teams I know their stories with. The Last Dance is such a good documentary. So, but that's a cop out. I don't know.
Everything I know about NBA Jam is from NBA Jam. So all I know is Bill Clinton plays for the Bulls. And,
that's actually true. He still plays for them.
Thank you very much, everyone, for listening to this delicious podcast. We've got a lot of video games to talk about today. A lot of video games are coming out at the moment, but not a lot of them are out. So we haven't, and we don't get codes for everything because we don't review games. We sometimes get codes, and then I'm like, we're not going to review this. We're just going to play the game and have fun. And, it's embargo. Sure, I don't care. We're not going to. Maybe we'll talk about it in the podcast. But there's a shed load of stuff coming out. We're not going to talk about any of those. I'm just going to cut it off the pass. We're still not talking about Zelda. None of us have played Street Fighter 6. I guess System Shock came out, and we're going to talk about that a bit. Diablo 4 has been getting good reviews. None of us have played Diablo 4. By the time this podcast is out, Diablo 4 will be out. Maybe you know more about Diablo 4 than us right now because you're playing it and listening to this podcast. I don't know. I don't know the future. What I do know is I really respect our Battle Pass holders: James Brown, Jason Drury, Mark Rojas, Ryan Cobb, Tucker Morgan, Crimson Cyclist, Sven Huster, Aaron L. White, Tim Robinson. I did watch 2 episodes of the new series of I Think You Should Leave last night, and it was very good. It's a good show.
Nice.
Thanks, Tim. Forrest Pruitt, Andy Fegan, Eric Hamilton Schneider, Cameron Laird. That was a nice little. I might do that in future. Cameron Laird.
Yeah, that's good. We'll get a guitar riff going for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Cameron Laird. George Sakotis, Jacob Godserve, and Tohir Tiliev. Thank you all so much for your Battle Pass wonders, also your kind messages. Been doing a lot of back and forth with the patrons this past couple of weeks, figuring some stuff out. We've got some fun patron exclusive stuff coming soon. We're working on a patron exclusive video series. It's the first time we've mentioned it. We're also working on a patron exclusive podcast. Myself and Jesse are rubbing our brains together for that one.
That's the only thing we're rubbing together for that.
That's it.
Don't worry.
Hey man, brain is a...
Never mind, I take it back.
So if you'd like to support this ad-free podcast, fund our documentaries, and get access to all that premium shenanigans, head over to patreon.com/noclip and throw your boys a couple of bucks. Please, please, please. We're doing a funding push now. I've been talking about the funding push. The funding push is like,
when's
it's
it
like
happening?
this fucking ghost of Christmas future that we'll never reach. we're definitely doing it next month because we need to. The archive channel is up as well for the tape stuff. We've put up a couple of videos up there. We're going to be doing a big push around that and hopefully using it to get a bit more funding in. But thank you to all the folks in the past couple of weeks who've been listening to the podcast and have decided to chip in. It has been very much noticed and appreciated. Today, though, we're going to talk about some video games. I'm looking at this list and we do have some new stuff. But do you mind if I go back just a little bit and talk about a game that both myself and Frank have been playing a little bit of? Yes. This came up last week when we talked about Frank's broken arm and games you could play with a broken arm. And one of the ones that I suggested that he played a bit of then, and then I also ended up playing a bit of, was Disco Elysium.
Yes.
Which turned out
Is this your first time?
So I played it when it first came out, but I did not get very far in it. I'm not a huge CRPG person, and I forget why I didn't really bounce off. I think something else was happening that I needed to do, and I never got back to it. So it's been on my when I take 2 weeks off, when I take 2 weeks off and I'm at home playing games, I will play this game, and that has never happened. So then last week I was talking to Frank about that, and I was like, I should play Disco Elysium. So I've been loving Disco Elysium, and then bam!
Yep.
Yesterday or 2 days ago, whatever it was, Chris Pratt and those people make games. Him and Annie dropped those people. They dropped this 2.5 hour long documentary about Disco Elysium and all the shit that's been going on with the IP rights, and they interviewed everyone. Robert Kurvich is in it. Everyone's in it. Have you guys watched this thing?
Not all of it, no. First 30 minutes, and I just haven't had enough time to finish it yet, but it's super interesting. They always do great stuff.
Yeah, I watched it in 1.75 speed because there was some not English as a foreign language, a little bit of accent, so I couldn't quite do it up to 2. You know what I mean? If you put a regional accent, I'm sure I probably don't even work at 2 speed. You need someone with really good elocution to get away with a 2-speed podcast. So Chris was fine, but everyone else, was a little bit tricky. I know Jeremy watched some of it as well. We talked briefly about it in yesterday's meeting, but I'd really encourage people to check it out. If you like Noclip and you like documentaries, it does not spoil the game at all. They barely get into anything to do with the game. It's all about, if you were listening to this podcast for a while, Jeremy covered the story a lot last year about the Zaum IP rights of Elysium, this sort of world that Robert Kurvich had written since he was a teenager with all of these people. It was a D&D project, and it turned into what was the game. And then there was this very interesting, scandalous story of, minority shareholder being pushed out of control of their own intellectual property and eventually sacked and all that. People Make Games video definitely sort of, I think it's a lot of information to take in. They talk to the people who own the studio now. They talk to Robert and Helen and the art director who were pushed out of the project. They talk to some people who worked with them in the past. And it kind of tries to cover a lot of the story from lots of different angles. One of the critiques you might have of the piece is that it doesn't necessarily delineate between, two sort of stories that are going on. One, which is a very much a sort of white collar IP theft crime story, and the other is a toxic work environment of a sort of of an auteur. You know what I mean? Like the charismatic auteur who's able to sort of swing their weight around with, and that being Robert Kurvich. That's at least the allegations being posed against him, and then he sort of in real time has to defend himself in a way that perhaps the folks at the studio didn't necessarily in real time have to defend themselves from allegations that they weren't expecting. So it's been interesting discourse around it. I think stories like this are almost impossible to please everyone with.
Yep.
I think Chris and People Make Games folks don't do don't attempt to cram their version of events or what they think is right necessarily down people's throats. Chris has a little bit of time at the end to sort of address where he's coming from on it, and I think you could take all the facts that are in the documentary and interpret it in many different ways, as people have. So I think some of the criticisms of it are a little bit overwrought, but I do think it's a fascinating story, and it was amazing to get those interviews and to have those people speak. Like it's really terrific work on their part. So I'd encourage anyone to check it out. It's long, but it's worth it. And if you're a fan of the game, or you're a fan of games development, or you're interested in the business of game dev, I think it's a very insightful watch, and we're lucky to have it. So fair play to PMG for putting it together. It's kind of watered my mouth a bit in terms of doing so. Like, in a way, I was like, I'd love to do something on Disco Elysium. And when I was playing the game, I'm thinking like, oh, there's so much design stuff to talk about here.
Totally.
And yada, yada, yada. And then when the video came out, I was like, I guess they did it. And then after watching it, I was like, oh, they're actually...
Yeah, they don't really do that, right?
They don't talk about the design side. And in a way, like, one of the things that I was worried about was... how could we talk about the design side without addressing all of this other stuff?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
In a way, this one's kind of addressed all the other stuff. So maybe in a strange way, it actually frees up a Noclip doc to do it. But then also there's like clearly so much court of public opinion fuckery going on both sides, probably, that you also don't want to be like an agent of whitewashing in a story like this, you know?
Yeah, like how do you just cover design without also touching on that stuff? You just kind of can't. People are going to be like, yeah, you didn't ask any questions about any of this? You're like,
or how do you talk to like a couple of people involved with it without talking about the people who still work at the studio about what they maybe worked on it? Or do you just bite the bullet and let everyone know at the start that you're just talking to the people over on this side or the people over on that side, you know what I mean? And just do that and let everyone know that that's the story that you're going to tell, and to take it with a pinch of salt if they want. Or there's just, I don't know. I found it, in a way, I find the whole thing even like it's art becoming life. And I think that's awful for the people involved. But for us, you know, consumers of art, it does in a way sort of like bleed out of the creative world into real life in a way that is compelling. And I think that's why people are following the core case and the story of this stuff. Not just that, but also because they clearly love this IP and these game creators, and they want to see more of it. And you know, that seems less and less likely, at least in Disco Elysium 2 or anything like that.
Yeah, if that ever happens, yeah.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. But yeah, I was playing a bit of it. Frank, what have you made of your time with Disco Elysium? Was this the first time you played it as well?
It's the second time I played it. The first time I tried playing it years ago, and I was so mentally overwhelmed by it. I was like, oh my God. Like, all of the writing was so profound and well written that was like, oh, I want to take my time. I want to be in the right headspace for it. But even the dice roll stuff, I was like afraid, like, oh, am I going to screw up? But then I already forget the name of it. Citizen Sleeper kind of taught me how to play Disco Elysium. Citizen Sleeper, kind of the same. Since you're talking to people, you're doing dice rolls. There's morale choices, kind of, and that's a micro version of it. So then I went to Disco Elysium feeling confident, and it grabbed me. And then the moment it really grabbed me is, I forget the little kid you meet. Is it Kuno? Or
Kuno.
That sold
Fuck
me.
does Kuno care?
I love that. Like, okay, this is very funny, and the game is so funny. It's so funny. So I think I played maybe 3 hours or 2 hours, and I was rinsing every conversation. Like, this is so rich, and I liked it. Again, it was the perfect game to play with one hand. Also now, I think before I played it, it was before the Final Cut voice acted fully edition.
Yes.
So
yes.
Now, it was really cool. So I'm happy I kind of broke the ice of playing Disco Elysium.
Yeah, I'm blown away by all the voice acting stuff. The fact that like all of the internal stuff as well is
like all the mind states or whatever, like depression and anxiety,
Empire and all that stuff.
Yeah, Empire. That's what it is. Yeah.
And it's fun. I weirdly as well, I did some stuff the first time I played that like with the the body that's hanging in the tree, which is kind of like the first thing you're kind of central theme or central mission that you kind of have at the start of that game. I actually like did a bunch of stuff the first time around that like solved that way quicker, and this time around it's actually been more difficult. It's such like there's just something really cool about how dense the world is small enough, but everything's relevant in a way that's quite pleasing. Has that sort of backtracking thing. It's the same thing with games like Monkey Island and adventure games that have like a tight little world where you really start to get to know all the people and the stuff, and then it sort of like builds this version of the reality in your head. But yeah, just the world building stuff in it, like all the conversations about, like I had like a big eugenics conversation with the dude up on the top of the gate
catwalk,
or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just so dense, and it's what I like about hard sci-fi and stuff. Like when I listen to, like I finished the Imperial Ratch trilogy recently, and like what I liked about that world was just the crazy idiosyncratic, species and way of doing things, and the way they conceptualize politics, and even down to like the names of people. Like I love a weird name. I love like a weird name that feels like it's real. Like the god emperor in that series is called Anna, and she's called Anna Anda Miatnai, which is like the weirdest combination of words. And what I'm particularly excited about with the voice acting in this game is that one of the things I really dislike when I'm reading books, what I like about audiobooks, is that they just tell you how shit's said. And I think like it's like, because I always do like the fucked up version, and then somebody says like, oh, did you know they were called such and such? And I was like, oh, in my head it's been like Jim Lee or something super, but like I read it wrong the first time, and I've been saying that now for 20 years.
It's like 20 characters long, but it's like 3 syllables when you say it, or 2 syllables when you say it. Like, how? Where did that come from?
You skip an innie in there or something. It's So yeah, it's a terrific thing. So I'm really enjoying it. In a way, I wonder if this PMG story is going to get people to go back and play it, or because it's in the zeitgeist again. But yeah, it's a really, really terrific documentary, and obviously the game is great. And yeah, in a weird way, I'm like kind of like now I'm even more interested to tell more of the design side. Maybe, I don't know, but who knows? Who knows? We've so many pie in the sky ideas over here, and we're working on too much already. But that would be cool. I say that as it's probably one of the most recommended things that people ask us about a lot. And
I mean, I'd love to hear more about it. Right?
Right? Yeah. I originally stayed away from it because GameSpot did a video on it. When they were doing like a little design style show, and I was kind of like, I don't want to go toe to toe against anyone, so we'll just do our own thing. But yeah, that was like 4 years ago from now, so I think it's probably all right. Let's have a change of focus a little bit and talk about a game that I'm very excited. I know Frank has been very excited to play for the past couple of years. Jay Tholen, the creator of Hypnospace Outlaw, the weird AOL game. Like it's a game based. How would you describe it, Jesse? How would you describe?
It's like playing GeoCities. Outlaw. Hypnospace Outlaw, it's like playing GeoCities. There's nothing else I could even remotely compare it to. It's like playing a bunch of weird late 90s, early 2000s websites that exist but don't anymore, and you're like scouring through them, playing the banhammer of justice of like removing content, and you're like a police. You're like the what is it? You're the police for the internet
moderator,
sort of. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like it's a
very
strange
job
game.
I had at AOL.
Oh, really?
I worked in sales and billing, but every once in a while we would have to do a bit of content moderating on that side. So that was always weird. But one of the games within this world, or one of the characters, was this guy. What was his name again?
His username was ZaneRocks13.
Zane, that's it. And he was he wanted to make a video game, and so they made the video game that was in the world of Hypnospace Outlaw. It's called Slayers X: Terminal Aftermath: Vengeance of the Slayer, and you can buy it on Steam. Frank, how is Slayers X: Terminal Aftermath: Vengeance of the Slayer?
They pulled it off. The number one thing with Hypnospace Outlaw that really struck me is it's very rare for there to be a game that's laugh out loud funny. And Hypnospace Outlaw was that every page was so specific in like its web culture, and even like honestly like early 2000s Something Awful-esque like humor. It's just like it's funny. It's the humor I grew up on, and yeah, the premise of Slayers X is, the in-universe character Zane, when he was 16, he started making a video game with his computer nerd friend, and then they burned it onto a CD and lost the CD. Well, 20 years later, they found the CD, and it played and it's designed like it's truly designed like a build engine shooter, like Duke Nukem, Shadow Warrior, like that, like post Doom, that kind of era. But it
like 2D sprites, but they're in a 3D world kind of.
Okay.
Blood.
Yeah, and it feels like you're playing like the most twisted like Doom wad. It is so silly. Like it really is like yeah, it's very like Y2K Hot Topic. Just it is so juvenile. like every room, kind of like Hypnospace Outlaw, every room you go into, there's like graffiti or there's magazines or photos, and everything is so funny. The premise of the game is like, yeah, your town's been infected by psychos, and they've kidnapped your girlfriend, and your mom is dead, and you've got to get revenge on the Slayers, and like, but it's like a 14-year-old's vision of the world. So like this grand adventure all takes place in like Boise, Idaho. So the first level is your room, but your room has a secret underground base where you hide from your mom all your computers and comics and stuff. The second level is like the sewers where you're fighting turd piles. And then like the third level is just your local like dollar mart. Like it's so silly and so funny. And it honestly plays like a great boomer shooter like Dusk or any of that kind of new wave, New Blood era stuff. Like, because I think a lot of times, like with like maybe joke games, it's like you either lean one way or another. So it's like maybe it's really funny, but it plays crappy. But it's like, no, I'm kind of curious, like how many of these build games, how many old school first person shooters did they really study? Because it doesn't have too many annoyances. Like I don't really get lost. It kind of does have the Doom thing where it's like you got to collect some different keys to unlock doors, but you appreciate the level design because everything is just pocked full of Easter eggs and gags and like. Yeah, it has. I think there's like 7 different weapons. So you have your pistols, like shotgun, rocket launcher, grenade launcher. You have like a hack sword, yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering what that was about because there's health in the bottom left, and then there's something called
hack blood.
Yeah, what?
So
is
you
this?
have. I forget which game did it. I don't know if it was Hexic or whatever, but like what? So there's You get a like a sword, and once you kill enough psychos, it charges up your sword, and then your blade will have a long projectile. So that's what the hack blood is, and
I like that you merged Hexen and Heretic into Hexic.
Hexic was the Xbox 360 launch puzzle game that came pre-installed on everyone's hard drives.
What was that actually called? Was that called?
I think it was
Hexic?
called Hexic HD.
Xbox, yeah, that was. It was like columns.
Yeah. It was like you rotated.
Hexic. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I see. Right. Yeah.
But yeah, Slayers X is really good, and I think it's dropping by the time this podcast is out. It's dropping today, Friday. I think it's maybe $20. I'm not sure. It'll be on Steam.
It's on Game Pass.
It's actually tomorrow, Thursday.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
So it will definitely be out. Yeah. It's. Do you have any idea how much it costs or anything?
I should check. And then
on Steam currently there is a demo, and it says add to your wish list. But there's no others. Also, can I just say I'm a huge fan of this Steam page because they have just gone all in on the they're not breaking kayfabe anywhere here.
Yeah.
The developer is not Jay Tholen's studio. What's Jay Tholen's studio called? What does he call it again? I forget what he did. What's Hypnospace developer?
See. It is Tender Shoot. I think that's it. Tender Shoot.
Okay, so it's not that. It's Big Z Studios Incorporated. And I was just going to read the description of the game on Steam verbatim. It says, so, ... got what it takes to be an ex-slayer, ? 7 weapons, blood and gore, twisted music by C-Page and Psycho Syndicate, spelled very interestingly, and maps where you can blow up everything. It's awesome, all lowercase. All lowercase. Started making it in 1998 in high school with my friend, and now I'm 37, so I have life experience now. End of description.
That's so good.
And
absolutely.
And Seepage, like in the universe of Hypnospace Outlaw, was like that universe's like version of Linkin Park. So the game's
Seepage?
So the game's soundtrack sounds like fake Linkin Park. It's all like new metal. Your closet's filled with Jinkos. Like it's like. It is just so beautiful. It's so beautiful and so funny.
Just visually, this reminds me of like Cruelty Squad.
Yes.
And how gross it is.
Yeah.
Like, this is great. And this map where they sort of like show you the next location you're going to looks like a point and click map screen from something on like Newgrounds.
Yeah.
Like it's I love the style of this. I got to check this out.
Are there cutscenes?
Yes.
It looks like
they are like the most like, I don't want to say they're bad. Like they're designed to look like early like 90s CG. It is so like everything is like kind of bit crushed and cruddy, and it's beautiful.
Right.
It is so, and like,
are they animated?
Yeah, they're animated, and the dialogue is is so obscene, it's so absurd. It's just like, yeah, again, it's written from the perspective of like a 14-year-old edgelord, and it's just like, it's beautiful.
Love it.
And even the difficulty when you start playing, there's 4 different like difficulties. It's not a real gamer, normal gamer, I'm awesome, and insane. Or insane.
Insane.
Yeah.
Got it.
So yeah, it's great. And like, even I'm playing on normal gamer, and it's not too difficult. Like, you're able to find health and pickups and everything. I feel like it's designed where it's like they want you to enjoy it, but you can crank it up if you want to. And then even the achievements are all written in lowercase. Like, it's like, I think the 4th levels is like kind of the suburb with mansions, and like you beat it, and the achievement description is like frickin' rich people.
Frickin'. God, you said it's Game Pass as well.
Yeah, so it'll be. I think it's on Xbox
awesome. Game
Pass, PC, and console. So part of me is like, oh, I kind of want to try the console version when it's out, just to regrind achievements. But it's very funny.
It's according to Microsoft's website, it's like $17, or it's going to be $15.39 is like the, I guess, pre-order sale for it, but it's 17, so it's around 17, 20, something like that. It seems
not
like bad. So yeah, well. Yeah, any idea how long it is, Frank? You haven't completed it.
Yeah, let's see. I think I've done 4 out of 7 levels, and so each level is taking me like maybe like 20 minutes or so to really like go through and appreciate. And then just like any old school shooter, there's secrets and things like that. But I would guess maybe 4 to 6 hours. Like, it's nice. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
ballpark.
Yeah,
kinda?
yeah.
Cool. I'll take it. There you go. Slayer's X Terminal Aftermath Vengeance of the Slayer, available now for you Xbox and PC folks. Do we know if it's I'm guessing if it's Game Pass, it's not necessarily coming to... Yeah, there's no details on PlayStation at the moment or anything like that. Keep your eyes peeled. Jesse, you've been very patiently waiting to talk about some of your video games. Which one would you like to talk about first? You got 2 very interesting ones down here.
Well, only one of them is a video game. The other one is a book.
Ooh.
So let's go through the video game one first. So Planet of Lana is the first game from... the studio listed here. I want to get it, but it's a side-scrolling cinematic platformer where you all you're doing is you have this companion sort of character that you meet. It's a physics-based thing. It kind of plays like Inside or like Limbo.
Cool.
In that the character doesn't have like pre-programmed sort of animations. Everything's slightly physics-based, and you're doing puzzles and trying to sort of stealth through areas. Visually, it's inspired by Studio Ghibli's work. I don't really see that. I feel like we kind of just use Studio Ghibli as like, this is a pretty-looking game. Like, just,
it's
not
very
particularly accurate.
it seems like it's set in like an outdoor natural environment, which I guess a lot of Ghibli stuff is. But I'm with you.
Totally.
Graphically, it just looks nice, but
yeah, it's just very pretty. But it's very cool. It's a sci-fi sort of experience where you're on this planet, Lana's planet, can you believe it? And you're playing as this little girl who is living in this sort of like water-based city, where it's not underwater, but it's like there's a series of rafts and buildings that are hoisted on the water. I don't know what it's called. And you
like Waterworld.
Yeah, like Water. Exactly. I was trying to think of what's that Kevin Costner movie?
Yeah, Frank, you've seen the
Waterworld.
Waterworld thing at Universal a million times. What do we call that? Is that it's not an archipelago? What do you call it if it's a bunch of
houses on the water?
It's right in the tip of
word.
my tongue. There's definitely a word for this. Okay, just keep talking.
But yeah, so you're playing. It's just a side-scrolling platformer. It's very cool though. Flotilla, yes, you got it. Go. Beautiful.
Sorry.
We're learning things here on the pod. But yeah, the gameplay was inspired by Playdead Games, Another World, that sort of stuff, where the animation's very fluid, looks really nice.
A little bit.
Exactly, yeah, Prince of Persia. And yeah, it has a companion system where you've got this little character called Mui, sort of like sounds like a cat. It goes like meow, meow, and you can command it. You could give it you could tell it to stop. You could tell it to come to you. It's sort of like Ashley from Resident Evil 4. But you can also give it smaller commands, like you can point it to go towards something and it'll go there and it'll interact with it. So your goal is to sort of keep advancing with this character because you need it in order to figure out what's going on. The very beginning sort of narrative inciting incident is you are hanging out with your sister and these alien drop ships start falling from the sky. You see these huge streaks in the distance, and they're capturing all the people in your town, and they're capturing all these weird sort of monsters you see in the background. There's these like sort of dark black, white-eyed creatures that are sort of just you capture them. I don't know what for, right? But as the story progresses, you sort of learn what's going on and what the aliens are coming down for. And it's super interesting narratively. I think there's a lot going on to it. I don't think the puzzles were super in depth. I feel like this sort of side-scrolling cinematic sort of platforming puzzle game has been done already perfectly by Playdead Games. It's sort of way too high of a bar to reach. But what Planet of Lana is doing in that regard, I still enjoyed. So it's not like it was a disappointment or anything. But the two things that really stood out to me in terms of what made this game really special is one, the music is done by, Takeshi Furukawa, who did the music for The Last Guardian and a bunch of other stuff. And it is beautiful. This game has a capital S score. Like, it does not just have music that plays in the background. It feels like all the songs, obviously, were intentionally written with every single moment that happens while you're playing it. It nails it. It evokes a sense of emotion. And the other part of it I think is so impressive is I find myself not doing this enough, and I feel like I need to change that, and this game really encouraged me to. When you're playing a game and you're just running through areas and you don't stop to think about what you're looking at, like you enter a chamber and you leave the chamber and you're like, whatever. That was there for me to get to the rest of the game. This one, I stopped a lot and like thought about where I was and like what I was doing and what was going on. And I tried to like get in the head of the character and think about the places. Because one of the first things you pass is your parents' grave. Well, I assume it's your parents' grave. And there's this valley overlooking it, and it's in this little forest, and you have this beautiful view, and you think like you and your family must have come here often, and like you start to piece together bits of the story, because there's no narrative, right? There's no character sits down and talks to you. It's one of those games where it's just noises and music and visuals to sell the narrative. So you kind of have to piece things together on your own. And when you do, you get a lot out of it. And I think the best parts of this game is when there's sequences where you're not solving puzzles, where you're not interacting with Mui, or you're not trying to like decipher what the aliens are here for or what you're here for. It's just when you stop and you think about what's going on and you examine the world and you take it in. And there is this moment, I don't want to spoil it in case anyone checks it out. It's very short. It's like 4 hours. It's on Game Pass. You should check it out.
Oh, cool.
But there's this moment where it's just you and your companion character walking through an area, and there's no conflict, there's no enemies, there's nothing to stealth around, and you could take a second, you could take it in, and the sun starts to rise in the background, and the song starts playing, and I was like,
they got you. They got you with the music.
This is cool. I almost cried, man. It was really good.
Excellent. Well, there you go. Really Planet of Lana. Did you say you played it on Game Pass?
Game Pass, like 4 hours long, Xbox, PC. It's really nice.
Excellent. Yeah, $20 on Steam. It looks great. We should do a little video on this maybe. It came out May 23rd, so it's just out actually. Okay.
Yeah, brand new game.
Week. Excellent. Yeah, thanks for putting on my radar, man. That's one of the problems. I mean, I feel like we live pretty deep in the weeds on video games, and I did not know this had come out, and I did not know Slayers X was coming out. There's just so many good games that are always coming out. We've had a lot of people asking for more crew videos. We're definitely going to keep, one of the things we want to focus on over on crew is moving away maybe from some of the big AAA stuff. If we don't really have, if we're not really into it, we're not going to like spend the time to cover that stuff. We're too busy. But like a lot of our passions do lie in these more smaller or esoteric indie sort of stuff. And I think we like to share those games when they're good, because they often don't get as much attention. So we should probably do little clip looks of both these games. I don't know. Slayers X, I definitely want to see more of, and
yeah,
this
me
game
too.
Looks super interesting too. Sorry, you do have a book written down here. This is how you lose the Time War. So this is the Trigun tweet thing, right?
This is, yes.
Okay, so can you explain this to people? Because this is, I don't know what that is, but this sci-fi novel has like blown up because of a tweet from a very weirdly named account.
This is correct. So a couple weeks ago, around the start of May, there was this tweet going around, because everyone who's on Twitter or who is aware of Twitter knows that this website is going straight in the garbage can. It's useless, but it's funny every once in a while. And I think if it's going to be a place where people just recommend things, I'm happy to stay on there. That's cool. I'm down with that. No, I don't need to hear about Ron DeSantis. Just show me cool books and cool movies and cool video games. And, one day, all of my Twitter feed was the same picture of the same book. Everyone reacting to this tweet from an account called Bigalus Dickalus Wolfwood at Mask of Bun.
He's Roman, is he?
It seems like it. And it was a recommendation to read this book called This Is How You Lose the Time War. And the tweet goes, read this. Do not look up anything about it. Just read it. It's only like 200 pages. You can download it on Audible. It's only like 4 hours. Do it right now. I'm very extremely serious. And then there's a reply. Grabs you personally by the throat. You will do this for me. You will go to the counter at Barnes & Noble. You will buy this. I will be greatly rewarded. And they're right. It's I don't think this book is for everyone.
Okay.
This is How You Lose the Time War. It is a sci-fi novel. I've been on a big sci-fi kick, by the way.
Okay.
Planet of Lana. I watched Blade Runner 2049 for the first time. Great movie, mostly. This is How You Lose the Time War, though, is a sci-fi time-traveling romance novel. Like, it is capital R romance. It is very like flowery in its writing. It's got a lot of beautiful prose, and it's half a story about these two agents of time travel. I'm just telling you what's on the back of the book. Of time travel, and they get in a correspondence with each other, and they begin this sort of like relationship through these letters that they're sending each other. But it's so hard to read if you don't like romance and you don't like that sort of flowery, very poetic writing.
Right.
But it does this thing throughout where like it's sci-fi, not in a hard sci-fi kind of way. It doesn't explain anything. Like, you don't spend a long time learning about the systems of anything, or like, why can they travel through time? Who knows? It doesn't matter. It's more about the feeling and the emotion of it. And like, while you're reading, it's so hard to understand what's going on sometimes. But once it all clicks in the end and you sort of parse everything, it's kind of beautiful. I haven't read a book like this ever, where it's very emotionally driven in the writing and the reading, where it's not like a moment hits you. It's like everything happening all at once as you're reading it is what makes it so compelling. I really enjoyed it. It's yeah, they're right. It's 4 hours. It's beautiful.
4 hours. That for a book, that's not bad. Can't go wrong. Do you? So, am I crazy? Is this also the same thing where like, because the guy who tweeted it, or the person who tweeted it, is like a huge Trigun fan, and I'm wondering, is there some thematic connection there? And also, this was like in my peripheral vision on Twitter, and I was not paying attention to it. Did the like creator of Trigun also end up reading the book or picking up the book? Because this thing ended up becoming an Amazon bestseller off the back of a tweet.
Yeah, it changed the lives of the people who wrote it, right? It wasn't really popping off for Max Gladstone or for them all, but they started really doing really well, and they were like shocked that that's the thing that made their book jump to the top seller list, right? The Trigun thing, I'm not 100% on, but I did hear something about the manga getting a reprint now because of this person's tweets, and
I could be conflating two completely different things.
I'm looking at an article on Insider, and that looks like the case. I'm just skimming really quickly.
Are you a Trigun fan, Frank, at all? I feel like you're the resident anime.
Yeah, I watched
the resident
during quarantine. I watched Trigun with Audrey, and it was like, oh, this is really charming. Like, it's very silly. And there's a new like anime series that's like, it's like, you know, I haven't checked that out yet, but the old school Trigun's actually pretty cool.
It's like 90s, right? It's like, it's kind of old in my head. It's like early 90s.
Yeah, I think late 90s. I think it was one of the shows that was in the Toonami rotation, so it had a lot of Western exposure.
There you go. This is How You Lose the Time War. I'm gonna give it a whirl. Have you tried much like hard sci-fi reading? Jesse,
reading, it kind of varies for hard sci-fi for me. I didn't read The Martian. I liked the movie. That was really good. But I did the audiobook for Project Hail Mary, the next book from the author of The Martian.
Cool.
That one's really, really good. If you like The Martian, or if you like any sort of hard sci-fi, it gets into the physics of it. It talks about like math and science and chemistry, and like very interesting unraveling of the narrative as it goes along through these very deep scientific questions and thought processes. Is very, very good book. But hard sci-fi, no. I actually wanted to ask you, Danny, because you mentioned this book series that you read about some spaceships that are sentient or something. What was it?
I only got into this stuff like maybe it was when I was on my honeymoon. I read Forever War, which is a book that I've wanted to read forever. No pun intended. And Forever War is like maybe my favorite book of all time. It is absolutely. Have you read it, Frank? Have you? No. So Forever War is basically a book about it. So the most beautiful thing about Forever War to me is it was written by this guy who was a Vietnam vet, and he came back to America, and I don't think he'd ever written anything in his life, and then he wrote this book, and it's basically the entire thing is an allegory for like what it's like coming back from war. And what happens in Forever War, in the world of Forever War, and I won't spoil anything, but it's basically set in a world where there is a sort of proxy war happening between humans and this other alien race, but it's happening so far away that whenever they sort of light speed jump to where the war is happening, and they do their like 6 months of time or whatever at this war, whenever they come back, because of the forces of gravity and how that time is tied to that, in the same way that like people off of Earth experience time at a different rate than people on Earth because of how gravity and time are connected, which is kind of like fucked up when you have to think about it. Because of that, time has gone faster on Earth than there, so they come back and the world has changed, which is very much
cool.
the what happened, the experience of a lot of the Vietnam vets who ended up being able to come home. So like, it fucks with that in like the most amazing way, and like the stuff that happens is it's a terrific book about like sort of trauma and like being disconnected from where you grew up, and what it is to be in I guess what it is to be like in the armed services and like against it but with it, and all your friends are in it and all this sort of stuff. It's a terrific book. I absolutely love it. And that was sort of my entry into it. And I've read around some stuff and I've enjoyed some bits here and there. There was another short book that I'm trying to remember the name of that was based on, we talked about it on the podcast before about there was this whole initiative to try and figure out how to label nuclear waste in a way that people in the far, far future would be able to understand that this is something that they should not dig up and should not. What do you remember what it was? It was like it's like this. Oh fuck! If I could Google it, I'd do it. I'd do it now. But it's like it was like a phrase or
is that,
like some.
I know there's like a phrase that's like the Fermi complex, but that might be about alien stuff. But I know the exact like
the Fermi paradox. Yeah.
I know
yeah. It was basically this initiative that happened in like the I don't know, maybe the 70s. I'm misremembering this whole thing now. That was basically a way of like, how do we figure out how to label areas that nuclear waste has been buried in a way that people will not dig it up in the future. And it was like all these ways of doing it, like having fucked up architecture that makes it really like spikes everywhere above it that makes it hard to go near it. Somebody follow me on Twitter if you want to know what this thing is, and I'll tweet out the name of the book. But there was a book that was based on that was a short story that I really enjoyed. So there's been stuff here and there, and then the Imperial Rat trilogy is, I absolutely love it. The first one is called, is it Ancillary Justice? Is the first? I always forget the three names of the books. Let me make sure. I think it's Ancillary Justice. Yes, Ancillary Justice is the first one, and the next one's Ancillary Sword, and the next one's Ancillary Mercy. Ancillary Justice is definitely the strongest of the three. I've enjoyed the other two as well. And yeah, it basically takes place in like a far, 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 far future where the protagonist of the story, Ancillary Justice, is both a spaceship and also the 1,000 of ancillaries, which are basically like drones, like human robot AI kind of, well, not AI, she's the AI. And her perspective is like omniscient almost, you know what I mean? And there's this crazy war going on, and it's just beautifully written and has like the strangest, just elements of the society, and has loads of like super interesting things about like gender with different species and all this sort of stuff. It's just fascinating. It's the type of thing where like people are like, they should turn it into a TV show, and it'd be like, it would be impossible. You couldn't, like, it is so, everything about this world is so strange and weird and alien that you would not be able to do it. And I think that's what I like the most about that type of sci-fi, is when it's showing worlds that you literally could not imagine. You need somebody to like grab you by the ears and tell you what's going on. Yeah,
nice,
super good. So yeah, I'd recommend Forever War probably ahead of any of those. But Ancillary Justice might actually be my favorite now when I think about it. I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah. Nice. Any recommendations, Frank?
There's Tim Chang is the sci-fi writer. There was a film by Denis Villeneuve that came out like years ago called Arrival, and that was based.
Terrific! That is so good.
That was based on Tim Chang's story collection called "Story of Your Life." I think that's what the original word is. So that short story's in his book called "Story of Your Life," and others. I think those are the other short stories. And yeah, kind of what Danny was saying earlier, like with these like sci-fi, hard sci-fi is like they'll take one scientific concept or theory and then make a short story based on that. And like the first few pages, it's organic within the story, but they're kind of teaching you this very insane theory or concept, and then a story's on that. So every short story, you're learning something very profound, philosophical, and every story is it could be like 4 pages, but it's so dense with thought. And I listened to like a speech or a book talk with him, and he talks about how he'll spend a year researching a concept to write like a 12-page short story. So Tim Chang, and he has another short story collection called Exhalation. I haven't read it yet, but I read The Story of Your Lives and others, and those were really cool. And it's been like,
oh, Ted Chang?
Ted Chang. Did I saying Tim Chang? Man,
okay.
Sorry, Ted Chang.
Yeah, that's okay. I was just
yeah, Ted Chang. So all of his stuff is really cool as far as
very cool.
And then not this is actually opposite. It's not hard sci-fi, but we've been talking about huge sci-fi universes, but Brian K. Vaughan's Saga, which is still ongoing, is this massive Image series, and like, yeah, everything is so
good.
Is Saga still
Saga's
going?
ongoing.
It was on break for a really long time.
So
5 years or something, right?
I haven't gone back since they stopped it. I read up until then. Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
that's
I think at this point there might even be already a trade.
I think there's a whole new volume.
Yeah,
right?
I think they finished one whole
cool.
arc, and now it's still ongoing. So yeah, Saga. If you're into the art in itself is so pretty. Like it's so like trippy, and I love it. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I found the thing.
The label thing.
Yeah. Oh, it's like I was trying to figure out. There was a bunch of weird terms that were like stuck in my head, that I needed to like find one of them to try and figure out what the message was. So I have it here, and I found it. I don't know, for some reason I find this like incredibly chilling and weird or something. So the idea of like this, so I forget how they wrote it down, but basically the idea was to create a kind of like when they, sent the module out into deep space, and it had like a picture of like a male and female or whatever, like diagram, and then like a bunch of
like the golden record that they put on one of the ships. Yeah.
Voyager. Like something like that. It's like written in a way that is trying to basically communicate, kind of like Arrival, where they're trying to like communicate very, very base ideas, right?
Yeah.
So this is the sign that they would have to write in whatever language to basically put over nuclear waste. And I don't know why I find this so compelling and chilling, but I do. So I'll just read it out to you. This place is a message and part of a system of messages. Pay attention to it. Sending this message was important to us. We considered ourselves to be a powerful culture. This place is not a place of honor. No highly esteemed deed is commemorated here. Nothing valued is here. What is here is dangerous and repulsive to us. This message is a warning about danger. The danger is in a particular location. It increases towards a center. The center of danger is here, of a particular size and shape, and below us. The danger is still present in your time as it was in ours. The danger is to the body, and it can kill. The form of the danger is an emanation of energy. The danger is unleashed only if you substantially disturb this place physically. This place is best shunned and left uninhabited.
Holy shit. You could just read that out in a scary robot voice, and that could be the trailer for Skinamarink 2. Like, what the hell?
It's fucking dark. It's like, it's so...
That's
because it's like, I know what I think what's so chilling about it is, and it kind of reminds me a bit of the stuff we talked about with AI over the past couple of months, is that there is this human compulsion to wander towards the danger.
Yeah.
Like slowly but surely to like know that what you're doing is not the right thing, but to do it anyway. And because you're curious, maybe, we just can't help ourselves. Like, even if we know there's something we should not do, or if there's something we should not see, it's like in the, Ark of the Covenant in Indiana Jones or something. Like, there is forbidden. We cannot help ourselves from the forbidden fruit. It's Adam and Eve, right? We have to eat the fucking apple. How do I look at that apple for the rest of my life?
How are you not? Exactly. Look at it. It's shiny and red. There's a snake who told me it's good. How am I not going to eat that? Right. You kidding?
How can I not eat it and look at that apple for the rest of my life and not eat it? Like,
it's like Nope. If you told me there's an alien in the clouds, I too would definitely want to see it. Like, come on.
It's like it's impossible to like I guess it's like the foundation of like a lot of maybe if you're a Taoist or like if so much of like if Jeremy was here, he'd probably tell us about like how Buddhism is about like controlling that type of impulse. Him being a religion major. I think. So what I find compelling about that is just, and that's what I like about a lot of hard sci-fi, is that it basically like dances, it looks at humanity from different angles and like really casts a sort of dark mirror back on
a Black Mirror,
us and
perhaps.
our society. Yes, a new series of Black Mirror also coming
Can't
soon
wait.
or out now.
Yeah,
or,
next month or the month after. Yeah,
saw the trailer for it. Yeah, looks pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks for bringing up the book, Jesse.
Thanks for giving the recommendations, guys. I'm definitely going to check those out.
Yeah, no worries. I hope you enjoy them. Yeah. If anyone else has any recommendations,
please
shoot them in. Let us know on Discord in the podcast chat, or tweet at us directly, or hit up podcast at noclip.video. Although I don't check that quite enough because we don't really do that.
100 emails sitting in there now.
I will this time, I swear. Anything else to talk about, folks? Any other games, bits and bobs? Anything
do you want to talk about System Shock?
There's a lot of games. Oh,
Yeah,
System
yeah,
Shock.
yeah.
I guess.
It's a sci-fi podcast.
It's true. Well, I thought my save game for the System Shock from the demo would carry over, but it didn't. So I have replayed the start of the game, so I can't really add too much to it. But the System Shock remake that Night Dive put out, it's finally out. It's really good. It seems to be getting good reviews. I'm excited to keep playing it. I never played System Shock 1 in any reasonable way in the past. I maybe booted it up for an hour here or there or something, found it incredibly difficult to play. So I am loving it. It feels like a brand new first-person shooter to me, even though the reviews have been saying that it's very loyal to the original. I love what they did with Shodan's voice. I love the graphics and the flow of the combat and stuff. It's super good, but I don't really have anything else to say aside from that because I unfortunately had to, not unfortunately, but I had already replayed that demo twice because we did it for the video on Crew as well. So I'm like, oh fuck, a third time. All right, it was only like a month ago. So
this is only good one time, guys. Come on.
I know, right?
Gosh.
Now it feels like a remake because I've like played it 3 fucking times. But yeah, there's loads of other stuff coming out. Like I said, Diablo's coming out. Street Fighter 6 is coming out. I'm sure we'll be talking about that stuff next week. I continue to play Tears of the Kingdom and enjoy it. Is there anything you guys are looking forward to in that group? Frank, I'm guessing Street Fighter 6 is on your... Can you play it though?
The test, I think I'll be able to play it. It's scary because I always play charge characters, so like it's going to be very dependent on my hand being able to hold the joystick. But I think I can do it. I was able to game like all weekend with both hands. I still can't fully... maybe. I have not been able... I have not been...
Whoa.
The real...
Dude, yes! You can almost web sling. You're like 50% of the way there.
Honestly, I don't know if this is like good for physical therapy or not. Every day I've been picking up my Guitar Hero controller because I'm like, can I?
You're like playing on easy. You're like, can I move to medium yet?
I can feel like there's pressure, like stress, so I can't do it yet, but close. But I think I'll be able to use the fight stick on Friday for Street Fighter 6. But I'm very excited. Like one thing that's cool that what they're changing with, and I think they had this in Street Fighter 4. But with online lobbies, with ranked matches, your rank is dictated by the character you choose. So my main character is Guile, and I that's like the only time I get kind of competitive. Like I'll sweat, I'll yell "fuck you" at my friends when I play. Other than that, I don't like competitive games, but I like playing Guile. But because you're encouraged to use other characters, it won't affect your rank. Each character has its own rank. It's kind of letting me be like,
cool.
so I can just mess around with other characters. So I'm eager to, because there's so many new characters in the Street Fighter. There's also a single player mode where you can make your own characters. So it's like, okay, I'm really looking forward to it. So it's gonna, I mean, by the time the podcast is out, it's out. So I'm excited to play it. It should be cross-play. And then, Diablo 4 is going to be early access this week if you get, like, the deluxe edition. And I'm excited because, like, Street Fighter is going to be a very, like, leaned forward, let's play. Diablo is going to be, like, sit back, veg out. Like, I'm going to get that on console because I had so much fun playing Diablo 3 on my PS4. The controls made it feel so fun, so I'm excited to check that out. And again, the Summer Games Fest or whatever the hell is happening. So
never ends.
It's like it's gonna be going.
Well, our podcast will be out next week. Will be out before that happened, I guess. I got weirded out because I saw in Street Fighter 6 there's a character called Manon, there's a character called Marissa.
Whoa.
So it was like, and I was editing the Immortality doc that Jeremy passed off to me yesterday, and I was looking at that, and I was like, all right.
They're inside you.
Is Sam a big fan of Street Fighter 6? Is that why? So yeah, that's cool. That's a cool way of getting folks to mess around with some of the other characters.
And then not related to video games, but the other huge thing I'm looking forward to is my friend and we got Paramore tickets.
It happened.
Let's go.
We're driving hours into the desert. We're seeing him at Palm Springs because tickets were $100 cheaper.
Great.
But it's
Brilliant.
a smaller venue. It's floor seats. So I honestly I think my arm will be fixed by then. It'll be July. So I'm going for it. I'm very excited.
Hell
nice.
Yeah, Palm Springs. How far is that from you? Like
it just might be 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So
traffic dependent, I guess. Nice. You gonna stay out there? Or you gonna drive back?
I don't know. I honestly don't know yet. So we'll see. I feel like I don't know.
I've never been to Palm Springs. I was at Joshua Tree. This is all east of Los Angeles for those who don't know. Kind of driving towards the Arizona border, like south of Vegas, not going northeast of Vegas. I went to Joshua Tree a couple of months ago, but I've never been to Palm Springs. And the Salton Sea is down there too, right? That's that weird lake that's like super salinated, and a bunch of hippies moved out there in like the 60s and built these houses, and then the lake became like a dead lake, and they thought it was going to be this boom town. There's like all documentaries about the Salton Sea. It's like there's so much interesting, weird like culture out in that part of the world. Yeah. Well, have you been to Palm Springs before?
I can't remember. I think as a kid took one trip, but I don't even remember. I might be confusing that with Laughlin. So I don't know. I think I've driven through Palm Springs. I don't think I've ever stayed there.
Right. Yeah, fair. Man, that's
it's exciting though.
Shit.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. I'm glad you get to go. You've been talking about it for weeks now, so that's awesome.
Yeah, it was just one of those things.
Something to look forward
exactly.
to, right?
Like I recognize like every year there's always like one. I usually will. I don't like big stadium shows because it's like I like small shows, but like also tickets are always so expensive. But I realize like there's no other concert I'm going to this year that's big. Why not? Last year I saw Slipknot. The year before that I saw Slipknot. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll skip Slipknot this year. So I'll go see Paramore. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Good to see it. Nice one. I'm happy for you. That should be fun. When's that? July?
July.
Excellent. We'll keep all the Noclip work away from that one for you. Speaking of Noclip work, Choo Choo Charles went up on YouTube yesterday, I believe. A great response to it. Thanks so much. We know it's a story that's gonna like hit fewer people because it's just like a really weird game that people probably haven't played. I mean, it's sold like 300,000 plus copies or something. It's done. I don't know where that number comes from. So people were tweeting me, but it's done really well. But we know it's a little bit outside of our core PC, like first person shooter. Although it is a PC first person game, so I don't know. Anyway,
it's not immersive.
Go check it out. It's a really interesting game. It's a weird little game, and I think from a design perspective and also from just a knowing your audience and marketing perspective, it's such an interesting story. This guy was 19 years old when he came up with this idea and tweeted it, and he ended up getting 550,000 wish lists on Steam through just guerrilla marketing and showing off his game dev. And then when the game came out, people liked it. It was
not IGN
didn't. They gave it a 4 out of 10. We have a great bit where his dad is like pissed off at IGN for giving him a 4 out of 10. But you look up that game on Steam and it's got very positive reviews, 10,000 of them. So it's clearly done all right. It's also on sale at the moment, 20% off, $16 if you want to pick it up. I really enjoyed it. It's a short game. It's 3 to 4 hours long. It's an easy game to play. I thought it was novel and interesting and didn't overstay its welcome, and I was happy to have played it. And Gavin Eisenbice, I think, is a very interesting dude. For somebody who does not know how to program games,
dude,
he did the whole thing using
Hearing he did it all in Blueprints, I was like, what do you mean?
And, yeah.
Like...
Yeah,
what?
It's crazy.
So
because he didn't make a crazy game. Because just scope control, like project management, not introducing something he couldn't handle. Like the game systems are basic, but he gives them tone and mood and character in different ways. Didn't spend any time wasting, doing facial animations for the characters to talk. It's just it's a real like he's just a sharp.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in the YouTube comments were like, I'm excited to see what he does next, and I am too. I mean, this is his trajectory for development from My Beautiful Paper Smile to this to whatever's next. I cannot wait to see it because it's exponential. He's such a talented kid. It's very cool.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think it's really like it's inspirational. And I'm not trying to say like blow smoke up his ass or say that this guy's a prodigy. I think I'm mostly interested in just how he like didn't fuck himself up, like by trying to do too much or trying to overpromise, or it was so managed well for somebody that young to be that sharp about that. I thought was super interesting. So so go check out that documentary. I am currently plowing through just the end of the Vampire Survivors doc that Jesse put together. I'm just getting in my beautiful vampire puppet footage into the documentary and a bunch of other VO and stuff like that. So I'm trying to get as much of that done this week as possible and try and get it ready to go out. The Immortality doc as well. Jeremy did an awesome job. There's a 90-minute cut I have that I've been trimming away on at the moment. So expect that next month as well. I think we'll get both of those out. Production on Burger King continues. We also have another one we haven't told anyone around about. We're also working on Hyperlight Development Episode 3. I'm going to be in Los Angeles next week recording some bits and bobs as well. One pickup for the Immortality doc. I'm just flying down for the day. So that should be fun. And a couple of other projects in the background too.
So much stuff.
Pretty much a lot of stuff, too much stuff. And I don't think you've noticed, but I have a sore throat today as well. So that's why I've been sounding bassier as we go. It's not COVID. It's just a sore throat. You know when you get a cough and you just like,
you're like,
oh
this
shit,
is it.
do I have the plague?
Yep.
Yeah. My dog.
Done for. Go to the movies, people are coughing in the theater. You're like, this is my last day. This is how I get
go
it.
to a restaurant and somebody's coughing and you're like, oh yeah, people cough at restaurants because food goes down the wrong way all the time.
Dude, that's the funniest thing when you're done at a restaurant and you're like holding in that post-drinking, post-eating cough until you get outside and you're just hacking up a lung.
I know, and you're just like, everyone's going to think I've got smallpox.
I don't.
I've got the Rona. Shout out to everyone out there who is recovering from coronavirus right now. Hope you're doing all right. Hope you're having a good time. If you're probably not, but I hope you will have a good time soon. That's what I meant to say. Hope you're having a good time. Jesse, what are you doing for the rest of your week?
Rest of my week, getting ready to leave to go to good old Massachusetts, however you say it. That's
Boston.
how you say it? Boston.
Massachusetts. Am I editing the podcast next week?
I think next week? No, I can do it next week. It's the week after where
week after.
You're going to have to suffer through it.
I'll figure it out.
But yeah,
apologies and then to everyone for the terrible audio quality.
No, it'll be good. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. After that, though, it's only like one more week, and then Final Fantasy 16's out.
Oh, man.
And then...
Damn.
Then I'm out of commission for probably a month and a half. I can't wait. Okay. I can't wait. It looks so good. That's me, though.
Love it. Frank, what are you doing for the rest of your week?
I might try to beat Midnight Suns before all those games come out next week. I like.
Where are you?
I'm in like the second area where you're fighting all these like more demon ass looking things. So
with Johnny Blaze.
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
I unlocked Wolverine, who's so fun to use. I know you still have to unlock Hulk and someone else, but yeah, I'm at the point now where I'm starting to unlock a lot of achievements like max friend rank and all this stuff. So I'm like, am I starting to get close to the end?
Like,
here?
I must be near the end.
But it's been Midnight Suns is so good. Like the game, I'm like, the gameplay loop of that was amazing. So I might try to beat that because once Diablo, I don't know if I'm going to come back to it. It might just be one of those things.
That's fair.
It's been a very great 2 weeks recovering with my arm with Midnight Suns. So again, that game's prices might only just keep going down. So get it if you need something to play. Midnight Suns really is like was it last year's game of this year's last year's game?
It really, yeah.
So
seriously. Firaxis just laid off like 8% of their staff or something like that though. So who knows? It'll probably go down in price and we won't see Midnight Suns 2, unfortunately.
It's already, I think, down in price again, isn't it? It
keeps
dropping.
Man, that's so sad. It's such a good game.
Yeah, big shame. Yeah, I feel like it's like I don't know, it's pay it forward or something because you've been telling Frank and then Frank is trying to or maybe it's like The Ring and you're just like trying to kill us.
Yeah, exactly. You get to the end and that's it.
Can't tell. Thanks everyone for hanging out on the podcast. I'm gonna cut this one short because my voice is just about gone and I have to record some voiceover, so that was maybe bad timing on my part. Thank you so much for supporting our work. Go check out the ChooChooJaws.com. We'll see you next time here on the podcast. See ya.
Bye.